That's the way to represent Facebook, but we're there now, Bauer. Check it out. Refresh.
The
Oh,
book.
dude, we look good, man. We look real good.
Let me see here. Says it's still waiting. There it is. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Good looking out. Yesterday I started, oh no, 2 days ago I started using vMix. Sometimes when you're a big technology guy. We're going to get into the subject here, but real quick, I started doing the show and there's a glitch in the matrix. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Nothing was wrong. It was just one of those things where you just had to shut the stupid thing down and restart it. But thank God I had some people there looking out for a brother, and telling me, Meatball, dumbass, no sound, bro. I was a little offended.
That whole no sound thing is one of the most annoying because each one of these platforms, we were talking a little bit before the show about how all the technology has evolved, not only since we started, but just in the last year. And all these, everybody's competing, everybody's trying to outdo somebody else. They're realizing that features are now something that should be a feature and not necessarily a function so that it falls over and breaks. Software always has those problems, but it's gotten pretty good. They've started to realize that throwing in functionality that is available across the board is what is going to make a difference. And sometimes when they implement the new features, they turn things on and off without you realizing it, and you have to go look. And the next thing you know, you're like, well, why is my mic muted? And it wasn't
Bro,
that way when I started.
I have literally tore my whole system down over something that a reboot would have fixed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, bro?
And spending the time trying to diagnose what the hell's going on and then realizing that, hell, I should have just turned it off and turned it back on.
That's always a good place to start. It really is. But let me ask, bro. You know what? Like you said, we've talked many subjects, brother. We have gone down many realms. Conspiracy analysts, we are. Um,
Yes.
the current state. It's different, right? But I think a good way to start this conversation is just be like, "How you doing?" I mean, in regards to our current status, how are you doing with all this?
Well, I may be in a minority, although I actually think it's probably at least half, if not a growing majority, of people that have this sensation of validation, vindication. The decades that I know I've spent, you've spent, and a number of our in our community have spent looking at things and trying to call them out for what they obviously appeared to be, and being rebuffed and silenced and sequestered and shut down and canceled and everything else. As a result of saying what we saw, right?
Mhm.
All of that has been validated now. All of that has been vindicated now, and there's a lot more that's still coming. But the whole concept of the ideologies and having this basic weaponization of language, which was intended to weaponize culture and society, with all of this, oddly enough, just they don't. The people that have gone after these models and have tried to introduce this carefully crafted and curated narrative to herd the sheep,
Mm.
their tactics have been pretty good. They give them an A plus for trying, give them an F for fucking execution. Because the one thing that has been clear in all of the abject, obvious reality that we are encountering was 9/11. What was JFK? What was RFK? What was MLK?
Yep.
What was Nixon? What was Afghanistan? What
Mm.
was
It's
the
endless,
what
brother.
was this
It's
virus
endless.
thing? What was this election thing? What was this intelligence thing? All of
And
it. All of it, to me, has demonstrated the one thing that I've been yammering on about for far too long, which is that everything, all of the systems are broken. All systems, government, academia, media, technology, although technology, oddly enough, is the one that's leading us out of this,
so let me
which
ask you
we
something
can
really
get into.
quick in regards to broken
Yeah,
systems before
yeah.
you get any further. Out of the systems that you just named, whether it be educational system, medical system, political system, whatever it is, which
Hmm.
one do you think would be the one that would be the most significant change to society to fix? Automatically because of my situation right away, I'm like medical because it's such a mess, right? But that's
Yeah,
not going to fix the country.
Well, yeah, the reason I'm hesitating is because it's really the administration of the systems that needs to get fixed.
That's it, bro. It's just like the management in a business. You got bad management, you got a bad business.
And the systems are broken because of a number of reasons. One, they weren't designed for what the society and the cultural and the global integration that we have today. They weren't designed for that. So they're already in a bad model, or in a model that is not as efficient as it should be for the times, because they're old systems. So that's the first thing. And I know, because I've been building technology and enterprise level software for over 40 years. I know how this
I mean,
stuff
you
is
do,
made.
you see, think about that though for a second, because there had to be the transition, just like when we try to figure out when is man evolved, right? When did we go from an ape to a man? The transition from old school, media wise, like going from I mean, we go from nothing to 8 tracks to beta to VHS to
Hmm.
DVDs to, I mean, we witnessed this all in one lifetime.
Hmm.
And this planet will never experience that technological revolution again, bro. We will never experience this again in our planet. We may want a reversal.
Well, well, I don't know about that. I think we're actually going to see another iteration of that, and at least another one or two. I think this is just the beginning of this of a trans. Remember back when the first shows we did, you were brave enough, or maybe stupid enough, but I'll go with brave,
I'll go stupid.
to to come to have me on and talk about
Oh,
informatica.
oh, dude, that's been the best thing. I mean, this is the impact Informatica's had. We're still talking about it. Tell me one other thing that we've talked about 5, 6 years ago. Tell me one other thing that we're still saying Informatica, Nexus,
It the where everything connects. And we're seeing more information. I think we're going through a series of greats, right?
yeah,
So we had the first one that has really been going on for a long time. It's been simmering, but the frequency shift that just occurred has kicked it into another level, and that is the Great Awakening. And the awakening meaning becoming aware, right?
yeah.
So
Now, now,
people are,
now, preface that because some people get triggered by the word awakening or woke, right?
yeah.
We
Well,
still
that's
have to reference that language. We have to find the
well,
right comfortable word. I mean, because it is an awakening.
well. The problem is it's not my use of it. It's the bastardization and weaponization of it
Correct.
that's been screwed up.
Hundred
Okay.
percent.
So I'm talking about it from its purest original sense and definition. So there was a great awakening, and what that awakening is caused, or the sequential one, is the great reveal. So when you become aware of this stuff, it's not woke. It's an awareness. You become more aware of your field of information becomes wider. You see more content in the context.
Content in the context, bro. I've heard that before.
You heard that once or twice, right?
Yeah, I have. Good morning,
So,
Mike. Good morning, Spirit Heart God. I want to be a Spirit Heart God for the record, and a rapper, if that's
well,
possible. All right.
well, I've heard you rap. I'd stick with the show.
All right. All
Uh,
right. All right. All right. Whatever, Bauer.
right? Yes, I'm saying. But so we went from the Great Awakening to the Great Reveal, which is causing the Great Rethink, because the awareness has given us this wider field of content in the context, more information in the landscape of awareness. People are pondering more. That which has been sequestered and canceled and denied and pushed aside and disappeared. Um, if you want, one of the best ways to sort through the tsunami of shit of information, the deluge of data we're getting right now, is to look at the ones that have a track record of credibility. Because what's happened is authority has lost its authority by virtue of its complete inept, incompetent execution of everything that it's tried to do.
There we go. That didn't take long, bro. That didn't take long. You know, the brain
Well,
stuff. It's you start using certain language, bro, and it's just like I got to come back and watch that part again. You know what I'm saying? I,
well,
I had something that I was going to throw out in there too, where you said the authority. There it is. The authority was taken away from authority. I never thought of that. The authority was taken away from the authority.
and the authority, and so I'll tie it back to one of my other observations. Right, one of the things I'm doing with my new shows is observational reality. The whole idea of just looking at things observationally, objectively neutral as much as possible, sans all the emotional content. It's you don't get rid of it; you put it to the side
Yep,
because
that's
those
right.
are important frequency sets of information that they're there for a reason. They're there to use and to understand and manage. But if you get rid of that, then you get down to what the whole concept behind informatica, the metrics in the matrix, which is getting to the nut of the nugget. The nut of the nugget is you want to get to the absolute essence of whatever the hell it is you're trying to interrogate and understand. And once you get to that nugget, sans all of the wrappings and the bullshit and the bows and shit the people have put around it for whatever reason throughout time, because everything is nothing more than speculation, and everybody puts their speculation on the nut of the nugget.
You
The
know
only
what's
way
really?
that
Go
go
ahead, brother.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the only way that you can actually have any sense of reality and truth and knowledge is the experiential component of you experiencing that nut of the nugget.
And experience creates perception.
Your perception comes from the experience based on all of the processes and the programming, and most importantly, this most simplest part of the concept. When you realize that language is the operating system of your mind, that language are the words and the definitions are the things that you use to sort the reality you navigate.
I was just saying, Bauer. You can ask everybody the same question, and everybody's going to have a different answer based off of perception that was gained off of experience. You get what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
That's
So
exactly right.
I want to touch on something you said there in regards to observation because that is monstrous, and it's so much easier to say, right? Because sometimes that observation is forced. And since I've been sick, there's been times where I've either been bedridden or the depression from it or whatever it may be to where you isolate yourself.
Hmm.
And when you isolate yourself at a very unhealthy way, you dude, it's like you kind of I don't know if it's from the depression or whatever it is, but you kind of disconnect from your everyday reality, your everyday way of thinking, right?
Hmm. Yep.
And you go in this, they call it, some say it's unhealthy, but I don't know how unhealthy it is when I'm in my head challenging the things that haunt me. Because I mean, sooner or later, if we say we're going to heal, you got to go to that place. You know what I'm saying? Sooner or
Hmm.
later, you got to go there. But I did that, brother. I disconnected and I got to this observatory type of status, man, and you start seeing things way differently, and actually you see the hypocrisy everywhere, right? It's not a left or right thing, the hypocrisy or the manipulation or the weaponization of words. It's everywhere, bro. It's like we are saturated, and it kind of gets to the point, brother, where sometimes I'm like, what the fuck is reality? You know what I mean? Like, what is it?
Well, and that's one of the keys, and why I was talking about language being the operating system of the mind. That's why all of the language that's been weaponized has been so effective. Okay, it is. So here's a just
I mean, can we
now.
fairly say, Bauer, that the entire propaganda process that we probably experienced in the last 10 years have been simply through language?
Oh well, it's psychological. It's
Right.
psyops,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
the one of the key tools is the language. So so you can understand the distinction of what I'm talking about and the importance of it. How words and the definitions in the language that you use. Those are the definitions you use to define and explain your experience in the reality that you inhabit.
Can somebody can somebody understand an experience without the experience?
Yes, and that's part of this. My book Informatica is in the works. Hopefully, that'll be out by the spring. And the concept is that the information that we are subjected to, that we have in our experience, what you and I are doing right now, okay, it's a set of information in a common shared reality. Okay, that common shared reality is what enables us to share the experience that we're having collectively, but most importantly, individually. you wouldn't be there on here, and I wouldn't be on here unless we were consciously involved in intentionally wanting to be here and doing this and being engaged on a conscious energy level to have a conversation that is spontaneous,
Let's
that is
reference
improvised,
let's
right?
reference this for a second.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a planet, and on this planet are all these things that they decided to call countries.
Hmm.
And in each country, because of the demographics and whatever it may be, they think differently, they eat differently, they pray differently. Their beliefs are different because at times they're non-existent to one another. They didn't even know they existed.
Hmm.
And then as progression happens and evolution happens, there's growth, and then there's this thing of getting all these different ideologies that are spread all throughout the planet of all different faiths and beliefs and food and structures and everything,
Yep.
through, and let's put them all in one island. you know
Hmm. Hmm.
how do you, and what I'm referring to here is the creation of the United States, right? So when you create a country like the United States to where you say, man, we're open to everybody, that means we're bringing in every ideology on the planet, every perception on the planet, every experience on the planet, every faith on the planet. And if you bring all that in, brother, how do you say that some people's, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, some people's experience and knowledge and history is not as valuable because of the new land, right? Because you have to have a standard, right? We're learning here in the United States. If you don't have that standard, this is what happens, right? You got to have the laws, and whether faith or whatever it is, whatever holds that
Yeah.
Constitution together, the laws.
Hmm.
But how do you compile a community of multiple perceptions to come
Hmm.
to a singular? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the consequences of the integration of those disparate types of belief systems and how they're going to either interact or not, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of the underlying story behind all of this migration, immigration stuff that's been going on around the planet. And it's, from a they, them, whoever, pick your and place your peeps in the elite categories, whoever that might be, dark this, white hat that, global, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, those folks have been the ones. What's happening, and this is a part that I'm going to get to your question, but
Mhm.
this is where I think why I think this is going to happen in the answer that I give you. There was a huge energy shift that just came through, and we've actually been building up through a cosmic energy shift for at least the last decade or more. It's been creeping up on us. There's a galactic current sheet that the scientists have detected that we are being bombarded with. There's this position they call M9, where we are, as we wave across the center of the galaxy, right? On our little arm,
Yeah.
takes 13,000 years to go up and down on each side, so a total of 26,000 years.
What's the extent of a human life compared to shit like that? You get what I'm saying? Like our
Well,
existence on this planet is almost so irrelevant compared to time.
well, yeah, and that goes back to the words, and so I was kind of going down a rabbit hole there, but just a little quick little piece to that. Astronomy is the reason we have astrology. Astrology is the interpretation of the energies of the astronomy. They look at the positions, they look at the planets, the entities, and they go, well, every time there's a position, these things come together like this, then this kind of shit happens. And that's what astrology does. It gives you an indication of the trends and the direction of where these cosmic energies are aligning. You know what we're having right now? We're having a Pluto return.
What is that?
Pluto was the last time Pluto was in the position it is now was 1776.
Shut. Oh, that's dude. Fuck. I remember like when we had Harmon and we talked about that. That like we
Yeah.
were talking about this. Was what was going to happen around. We talked about this, right? Am I just
Right. That's
imagining that?
right. We did interrogations, and Jeff's been on it. And it's
Holy.
also fascinating as a little side note.
Okay,
Some of
so
the mo-
explain that a little bit more. So
okay.
so people that kind of don't understand that, what does that mean?
So Pluto takes roughly 250 years, our years, to traverse from one position back to that position around the sun.
Damn.
Okay. So the last time it was in this position, it was in the sign of Capricorn. I think it's, if I got that right, Capricorn, and which is the last zodiac sign before the sign of Aquarius. Okay. So 250 years ago, in 1776, the Declaration of Independence was created by basically a band of rebels and renegades who said fuck the king and came across the ocean. They sat around for a bunch of years in Masonic temples arguing about what the construct of a country should look like. They came up with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and the rest is what we know as history. During that time, and this is one of the things about informatica that I just love, because you go, well, what else was going on then? What are the characteristics? Well, this band of rebels and renegades were people like George Washington, Ben Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, John Adams, James Madison, and they were all in their 20s and 30s, and they were a bunch of badasses. And they sat around and they argued, as I said, in these Masonic pubs and temples, and created this document.
Dude, I bet you if we grew up back then, we'd be cool son of a bitches. But dude, we look good in that shit. How they dressed. We'd have the best freaking wigs, dude. I would have the curliest fucking wig on the planet, dude. I'd be walking around with the coolest shit. You know what I mean? We should get one.
So fast forward to 250 years. Pluto is now back in the same position it was when 1776 occurred and we became a country.
Does something bad have to happen? Like, is there a bad burst before the recycling of time or whatever this is?
Well, there's all kinds of, variations of the cycles within cycles of frequencies over time and what they do. But
does everything make sense right now with current events and what you're saying?
Because I'm looking at it going, well, what's the correlation between back then and now? Well, there was a band of badasses. Is there a band of badasses now? Yes.
You're looking at them.
Were we at the precipice of not only the U.S. falling off the edge of the planet, but the planet falling off its own edge? Yes. Did that just get shifted dramatically, literally instantly, and so overwhelmingly that those who didn't see it coming are basically punch drunk? They don't know. They still don't know and understand what happened. They can't cognitively consider it because of the ideology and the weaponization of the language that has infected and become parasitic in their mental processes. Basically, there's a mental illness caused by the weaponization of the language. So what we're seeing is the collapse, the remedy for that mental illness. So now going back to your question about how do you integrate all these disparate things, right? These different belief systems, and how do you get to a point to where they can actually function productively, at least, or positively? You give them more information. You give them information outside of the realm of the information that they've adopted for their ideology.
How hard do you think it would be to? There's a lot of ideological views right now, bro. And again, I don't know if it's always been like this. You know what I mean? I've only been aware since probably I really started doing. I remember when Scotty and John asked me when we did the Situation Room. I told them I was uncomfortable because I didn't know a lot about the political process. I knew what was right and wrong. Yeah, that's it. Or to me, I knew what was right and wrong. I knew good and bad, right? I forgot where are we going with that? What was my point on that? Wait, John, with Scotty, the process, the weaponization of words. I can't remember.
Well, we were talking about the way that these ideologies have infected and caused this mental discombobulation, right? At a minimum, it's a whole bunch of mental fornication. After a whole bunch of mental gymnastics to even look at, and this goes back to, I think, the main point. What we're seeing, I was talking to a friend of mine last night about this. I think what we're seeing in this energy shift, the key thing is that if you didn't notice the shift in the energy, you weren't paying attention. How you couldn't have missed it is strange, because I know people that are totally unplugged from anything, don't understand any of this stuff, who have said, it feels different now.
What do they mean by like good or bad?
Good. They feel more people are feeling the sense of relief or a big exhale. Okay. I know personally, after being for decades, I've been pushing, hey, you need to look at this. This medicine, when I became a shiatsu practitioner back in the 80s, it was because I had noticed that the allopathic model had a whole bunch of problems with it. And I said, I need to look at some other healing modalities and philosophies. And that's when I became a shiatsu practitioner, which is acupressure, not acupuncture, but it's still based on the same traditional Chinese medicine models.
What's up,
Then I
brother
learned
Luther?
kinesiology, and then I learned Tai Chi, became a Tai Chi instructor, and then I found Taoism, and I said, "Holy shit! This is the best definition of the reality that I experience that I've come across." And at the end of the day, that's really what we're all doing. What we're saying is, all of us, that whole "Why am I here? Who am I?" kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is one of the things I'm going to get into with some shows later this year. You know how everybody talks about after death or near death experience? It's always about something on the other side.
Yep.
I'd like to explore, what about before birth? Wouldn't
Damn you,
wouldn't
bro.
wouldn't we find more interesting information about after death if we explored before birth?
Did we? So, so yeah, so okay. Jesus,
So
bro,
so
you should give me some intel before you drop this kind of shit on me because I'm going through a moment right now, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so intense to my because I think about this stuff. I do. You're right, man. And I've actually spent more time trying to understand why do we try to understand death instead of trying to focus not on the word death but on life, right?
well, to me, that's just another example of how the this the entire intellect and the construct of the way that we think about the reality we inhabit is based on these constructs that somebody has taken words, given them meaning, and given them to you. And you either resonate and adopt them or you don't. And that is just how we fundamentally function. So, back to the point about how do you integrate all these disparate belief systems and give them an opportunity, you give them more information. And information in informatica, the metrics in the matrix, is where all the wonder of the woo is.
Do you think people are ready though? See, what I'm finding is that I think I just briefly covered in one of my ADHD moments yesterday that patterns. I mean, we're a species that need a pattern, and that pattern makes us feel sane throughout the day. So that's structure, right? A guy from the military, he was having an interview the other day, and his other buddy asked him, "Do you miss it?" And he said, "Yeah." And the dude was shocked, and he says, "Well, why?" He says, "Because I miss the routine. I miss the routine. I
Mhm.
miss the not having to think part, right? Where it's like your life is structured. So when we force people, not force people, but when people challenge their mind, and have to step out of that, that matrix of indoctrination to kind of readjust the way they see things, bro, it's tough, man. And I think that's like with treatment. 97% failure rate in treatments because I think that treatments aren't really preparing people for the psychological challenge you're going to go through this change. It's not just like, oh, that's how it is. It's no, let me punch you in the jaw first because you dumbass believed this shit for 40 freaking years. And
Mhm.
now you're going to have to realize how to live differently because everything you thought was right is actually wrong.
Mhm. Uh,
It's tough, man.
and that is, I've been going on about being concerned for the literal explosions, the cracks in the craniums that are about to happen. Because going back to the series of the greats, the Great Awakening, the Great Reveal, the Great Rethink, after the Great Rethink is the Great Reimagining. And that's where we are headed into now, which is going to be mind bogglingly awesome. This future ahead is so unbelievable. You just have to participate and you have to hang around and watch because
Let me
it's
ask this
going
though.
to.
How
Yeah.
does, how, is there anything that could stop that from happening?
There's a number of things that, just like anything, where it can get in the way of it, but no, I don't think so. I think this energetic shift that's happened in the cosmos is way bigger than any of the bullshit we're going to try to pull,
Isn't
or
that weird?
stumble into, or whatever. In fact, I think that our cosmic cousins are here to help facilitate us into a next level of humanity and being human. Okay.
Hold that thought for 1 second, folks.
Yeah.
Hey, you're watching the Rocky Stucci Show. I love you guys. I appreciate you being here. Visit the website, stuccimedia.com. Don't forget to go to mypillow.com. Go to mypillow.com. The slippers, get your ass the slippers. The pillow's my favorite, but get the slippers. You'll
I've got
thank me
6.
later. Dude, I'm telling you, there's something about those slippers, man. I wear them for tennis. I go to Walmart wearing them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't have the slippers. I got the pillows and the
So
sheets.
me too, bro.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
even care what people say.
Well,
Bro, I love it.
isn't that? Remember when you said how you doing, and I said I feel vindicated, validated, and victorious. Don't you have? And this is one of the things that as I was saying, some people who are not connected are feeling a change. They feel a shift.
But do they
one of
understand
the
it correctly,
shift-
though? Do they understand the shift correctly, or are they getting confused by it because they're
Oh
not
no,
open?
people are swimming through it, marinating it, trying to sort it out. What does this mean? Did not see this coming. Another episode this is for the normies, right? The people who don't pay attention to this stuff. The people like us, this old grizzly guys who have been just rubbing our faces in all of this shit for decades. That's why I feel validated and vindicated. I've been calling this shit for 2 decades. I said that the entire Democratic ideology, ergo party and group, was going to fall apart and collapse. And it was going to be the end of that system. And it was going to be done a self-imposed implosion. So I'm looking at it going, yep, it just happened. I said the same thing about the media over a decade ago. Said the same thing about science 20 years ago and health, medicine 30 years ago. And we're watching all of that happen now. It's all collapsing under its own incomplete and incompetent ability to even to think ahead, let alone execute. It's the mediocrity of society has been, they tried to maximize that and normalize it. They found out that mediocrity does not compare to meritocracy. Meritocracy being credibility, motivation, the execution, the repeated, is it definable, repeatable, and sustainable. Those are the things that build and make change, not normalizing everything down to some level of incompetency, and that has been the primary result of. And there's all kinds of pieces to it. I mean, it turned into a serious mindgasm of just complete fuckery, and it was very effective. The people that it worked on were those who've chosen what to think over how to think. So
You know when you say
reintroduce-
mindgasm, Bauer, I'm distracted by mindgasm, so I keep thinking of like mayonnaise coming out the ear.
Yeah, I mean, how many holes you got? You got,
Holy shit, bro!
Anyway,
My camera's, I don't know, my system must be doing, my camera's a little choppy, so I just put myself on small.
yeah, it looks like there's some kind. Am I all right?
Yeah, you're great. Everything else
Okay.
is great. It's just my camera.
Okay.
So yeah, bro. So the mindgasm stuff, it's mindgasming my ear holes right about now, both of them.
Well, and the cool thing is that the real mindgasm is what's ahead, because the unveiling of the reality, allowing people to sort through that reality on their own, and with help of other credible people who have done the deep dives. We've seen the rise of credibility and meritocracy, merit-based stuff, organically. And that is from people like you and me and what we've been doing for several years, trying to say, hey, there's a perspective that needs to be examined, questioned, analyzed, explored, and see if any of that information, the information that comes from that exploration of information, does it add anything to the reality that we know? And what we're finding, and then the great reveal is 90+% of the shit we've been told is bullshit, is wrong. Our history is wrong. Our science is wrong. I mean, the administration of society and civilization, the construct of the architecture and infrastructure of how things gets managed is completely broke. You can't fix it. You can't repair it. You can only replace it.
Travis said that Mercury is in full again.
And Mercury must be in retard again. Hey,
Dude, I always say
Travis.
Gatorade. I always say Gatorade. Retrograde, Gatorade, same thing. You know what I mean?
So anyway, not on where we were going to see if I can bring it back to some kind of semblance of something. So we were talking about the energies and the things that happen with the minds and with people having different perspectives and trying to get them into a place where there is a more common shared understanding of reality, because the perspectives and the ideologies is what shapes that reality. And let me go back to, I was going to give you an example of what I mean by the power of language being the operating system, with the use of one word as an example. In the United States, we have this word called student, right? And the connotation of being a student is you are studying something to get to a completion of some type of, at least being an adept with it or being a master with it or whatever, but it's a certain piece of information. And once you get there, you get your stamped piece of paper, you get your TLA tattooed on the ass end of your name, you hang it on a wall, and you be expert, right? Well, that whole model has turned out to turn out a bunch of incompetent, ignorant people. Because if you look at any discipline, any medicine, science, entertainment, academia, all of the people that are experts with the TLAs tattooed on the ass end of their name and the stamped paper on the frame, on the wall, they all got it wrong. There is not anything that's happened in the last 5 years cited by any of the experts in the authority thing that we were talking about earlier. They've lost all their credibility. They were all wrong massively. So somebody, when they were
Sorry.
asking me, well, how do you sort through this information? It's like, well, the first thing I do is I look for the people that have been canceled, the people that have been shut down, the people that have been sequestered and denied and all that. Because the only reason they've been sequestered and shut down and denied is because apparently they went against the experts who were wrong to begin with.
Why don't, my biggest issue with this is the lack of accountability that we hold when we have people that are being shut down by pseudo experts, and real information is being suppressed because of a narrative, brother. And so there is a real war that's been going on for a long time, probably for decades, in regards to information.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is that people, through the great reveal, people are seeing that what they were told and sold is bullshit. So now that great reveal, okay, well, everything's bullshit. Oh, now I got to rethink. So that leads to the next the great rethink. So there's a whole bunch of big reveal and great reveal that's going to continue to happen. The shit that's going to come out, in my opinion, over the next 12, 24 months is going to shake people's foundation of the reality they inhabit, which is going
Brett,
to take them into that, right?
Brett Light from the YouTube chat says, vindicated, and victorious is spot on, and totally how so many feel. I wept in a good, releasing, cleansing way during the inauguration and several times since.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. I'm right there with you.
You cried?
Well, I got emotional. I mean, one of the things that, oddly enough, and brilliantly, spontaneously enough, that really got me was when Carrie Underwood had to do the song a cappella, and they stood there. The music started, then it stopped. Something fell apart. They stood there for a minute, seeing if it was going to happen, and she finally just took lead Jeep and said, "I'll just do it a cappella," and she asked everybody, if you know the words, sing it. That was, in looking at the faces of the people who didn't expect, they expected a beautiful performance by Carrie Underwood, and they were just going to sit and listen. Instead,
it's funny.
she made them a part of it, and it was magic, in my opinion.
Dude, it's funny because I just seen, unfortunately, somebody in my family, they posted this letter that this slobbering, hardcore radical leftist wrote in disgust that Carrie Underwood would do such a thing and sing at the inauguration. It's just like, that's, dude, that's the stuff. When we sit here and we try to express things about society and the future of existence, we have to deal with that shit, man. You know what I'm saying? That's the
Yeah.
hardest part. And most people that are in that realm to where they're so obsessed with their human gods, so they wake up every day looking for who they can destroy. And the fact that, and like you said, step out of your own reality, right? In regards of observation, and look at that situation. And if you look at it without perception of hatred or a tribe, you would be like, damn, that was beautiful. And how, like you just said, how it happened was brilliant. But no, we have to sit here and kick people in the teeth. You know what I mean?
Well, I will say this about that. I went on a rant last August. I've been doing a series of shows with some guys we call the Geezer Geeks, and we just basically it's a bunch of old guys who sit around on a Saturday night and say whatever the hell was on our mind and talk about shit.
Those are the best shows, though, bro.
And it gets pretty good, and they end up going for like 4 hours, and people hang out. I mean, it blows me away. But back in August, we made our predictions for the election, and I said that as far as I was concerned, it was going to be obviously over by the middle of October. It would be obvious to everyone, whether they admit it or not. It'll be obvious that this thing is done. Everything from that point through the election was nothing more than a formality.
Mm.
And I said, one of the things that we're going to have to be aware of, and I didn't anticipate the intensity of this energy shift. I knew Trump was going to win. I was hoping it was going to be in a landslide. It was more than that. And it was so powerful that the people who were on the other side were literally dumbfounded and gobsmacked, and they're still punch drunk from the results. They can't understand what happened because they don't have a sense, they're not connected to reality in any way, shape, or form that is
Right.
close to what reality actually is.
Right.
It's the only way that you can exist and maintain that kind of narrative without realizing that you just got your ass handed to you. Do you have a course correction plan? Do you realize that you're where you're going and what you're doing is not going to work?
Right.
But they don't see or they can't see that. But
They're defending their ground. And dude, it's I don't know when, you know, I don't know how much energy to put into that sometimes.
well, and the thing is that my point I was going to make is what I was saying last year is that when this happens, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to just they're overwhelmed mentally, and we're going to have to be sensitive to that. The ones that realize and go through the great reveal, now that they've had the awakening that everything they were told by their team was wrong and bullshit, and one of the best ways to uh, gauge your grasp of reality is to make a prediction and see how it turns out. I mean, that's what I do all the time, and when I look back at the track record of the last 20 years, back to I think who was it? Brett mentioned about the validated, vindicated, and victorious.
Yeah.
Resonating with that. That's one of the reasons I feel that way is because it everything that I thought was going to happen has happened. So my predictive capabilities, I'm feeling pretty good about. How do I do that? I just look at the trends and feel the energy. I don't get visions. I don't scry or use dowsing rods, or I follow a lot of tarot and the remote viewers. And what's really been wild, the people that are using the divination tools and techniques like remote viewing and tarot cards and astrology, those people have got a better track record than the experts with the TLAs and the stamped pieces of paper about what is really going on and what may occur. And that has been extremely not only interesting, but it's been exciting to me because I have followed those divination tools for decades. And at the end of the day, back to my informatica model of my philosophy of reality, those capabilities are inherent and natural within all of us. It's a part, their characteristics, attributes, and the nature of the consciousness that we exist through and from. And and how we use that consciousness to navigate the reality we inhabit.
Jesus,
So
bro.
those are all normal things, and those things are, I think, this energy shift, this cosmic cycle that's coming through, has kicked up that psychic component of our reality to another level. So,
You know what's really weird when you say this, when you talk about this, dude, you know what I've been hearing a lot of lately is a
mm,
lot of talk about remote viewing on mainstream news.
right? They're
And they're
finally
talking
getting it.
about they're giving it the credibility that we knew that because they've been doing this for since we know since at least the 60s. Um, and there's tons of reports that were made by the CIA in regards to this, right?
Hmm.
So there's this
Oh yeah.
capability. So here's my question, because I believe I'm strong in my faith, but I'm not strong in religion, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, do you think with everything that we're talking about here in regards to language and spirituality and faith and perceptions, do you think a lot of the ways that the church was created was to weaponize the language of Jesus to control the masses?
Oh, absolutely. It's all been carefully crafted and curated narrative to herd the sleeple. Religion, that's another one of the predictions that I made back in the 90s, was that religion, particularly in the Abrahamic Western systems, the Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, were going to be exposed as a giant hoax, and that they would go away, or morph into something else, because all of those stories in the Abrahamic side of it, in particular, are all plagiarized. They're not. Moses didn't write Genesis and the Torah. The Sumerians have the Enuma Elish that was written 1,500 years before Moses supposedly existed, and it's not only Genesis, but it's a whole bunch more detail.
Mm.
So you go, well, what's going on there? And then there's all kinds of, I mean, to think um, that there's this supreme creator that's in the form of this apparently bipolar, maniacal dude. Because in the Old Testament, this guy was nothing but a warmonger, right? All he did was he got pissed at people that he apparently created, and then he sent other people he created to go fuck with the other people that were pissing him off. What's going on there? That doesn't make any sense from any logical perspective other than a creation story, so that that can be told to the people to keep them herded and in line.
I just get so confused with teachings in the book compared to the message of Jesus. Because Jesus, I don't remember him ever saying, "Go kill that son of a bitch." You know what I'm
Well, what
saying? I'm
about the
like, I
message of
remember him
Buddha?
saying, "Go wash his feet."
Well, what about Buddha? What
Right.
about Krishna? What about
Yeah.
Lao Tzu?
Mm.
Socrates, Plato, all of these guys, all these different thinkers looked at the reality that they were experiencing, and they came up with their own interpretation based on exploring that reality with all of the information they've been given to define it, and then looking at it from their own perspective, coming up with their own definition of the experience. So let me finish with the example of the weaponization and the importance of language as an operating system. I mentioned student. So you're a student in the US in English, you go study something. You finish it, you get a stamped piece of paper, next. In kanji, the language of Japan, the word for student is Ka.
Do you get a
The
bow when you say
definition,
that?
what's that?
Do you get a bow when you say that? I think you were untraditional right there. Ka.
Yeah, Ka. So when you are a student in kanji or in Japanese, you are not a student on a subject. You are a student of that subject for life. You
Right.
are always a student. A totally different, a subtle, but totally different perspective of the way that we use that word, right?
Isn't that
So if
kind of
you,
the ideology we should have, though, Bauer? I mean, as a human being, just in general, shouldn't we always have the student ideology?
I think that it's what I would call it is, you're always learning.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's a learning mentality. It's a realization that consciousness is expressed, and the only thing we know for sure is that consciousness exists because we experience it individually and collectively.
Perpetual
Without
student.
consciousness, there is no reality. If you're not conscious, then it's like, okay, well, you're not in that same shared conscious stream of reality that everybody else is in. So that consciousness has characteristics. it expresses itself. It seems to be always in motion. It seems to be, and direction is irrelevant. It's always moving. It always seems to be creating more of itself. And in that creation, it always seems to be seeking the new or novelty. So there's consciousness in motion, always making more of itself. There's always more, right? Well, how does it express that? It uses this thing that we call energy. And energy is expressed in an infinite field of frequencies that manifest the reality the corporeal that we experience, and the incorporeal that we, like paranormal and multidimensional and whatever you want to think about in something, a god, a demon, an angel, right? All those things are unseen, but we suspect that they are there, right? Well, those are in the infinite field of frequencies, just like we are. They are individual frequency stamps within the infinite field of frequencies. That's what makes up who we are. We are not the result of some of anything other than the manifestation of consciousness.
You know what I realized, Bauer? After every show I do with you, I need a bath. I just need to soak and I need some time, dude. You know what I'm saying? I just need to regather my shit, bro. Because damn, there's like 4 different times that I didn't even know what to say back to some of the stuff you're dropping down right there. Because it's we haven't even gone there, bro. I just realized that we didn't even touch back on your pre-birth conversation. You got to come back on next week and let's talk about the pre-birth.
I'm in.
All right, so dude, do me a favor. Folks, again, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for being here. This is my brother, Robert Bauer. I don't know if you can see over here. I don't have the YouTube chat, Bauer, and the Riverside, but in the Facebook chat, I got a buddy in there. His name on there is Luther. He is a great brother, dude, from Dallas. It's all in our minds. That's what he was saying. If we ever get back to that area, I'm supposed to be going to South Dallas to do an interview, brother. And if there's anybody I ever suggest to follow, it's that brother right there. He has been a huge support of me and a great friend. And I'm blessed to have met him when I've been in Texas. So thanks for being here, Luther, brother. We appreciate you, man. So, Mr. Bauer, do me a favor, man. Let everybody know, because you got a lot going on. You're on StucciMedia.com. You got all your shows right there. Dude, you're kicking ass, dude. I mean, you're taking shit to a whole nother level, and I'm so damn proud of you with everything you've done. And anybody who can make it this long in this industry is a god, man. Not really. We were just talking about that human god stuff. Oh, let me change words. Is a legend. You know what I mean? But
first of all, thank you for many years of friendship, and for 6 years ago, dragging me on to the new show that you'd started then, and starting this current iteration of the shows and stuff that I've been doing and you've been doing. Much gratitude to you for inviting me on and starting this journey together.
It's been a fun ride, bro.
It's always awesome. We've got some old shows. The one, would you go naked at a beach?
Yep.
That was one of our better shows.
Yep. Hell yeah, bro. Oh, we talked some shit, man. We got in trouble. We got a lot of trouble, dude. I've gotten so many accounts closed.
So we've been out punching the envelope, trying to see, where the edges are. And now I think one of the most important things is that one of those executive orders of just saying, hey, free speech is where it's at. There are 2 genders. You can't do this shit anymore. You can't shut that down. We're going to shut you down for doing all your shutdown. There is going to be an explosion of back to what we thought we should have had and we're trying to have, and it's going to erupt in a tsunami of information and revealing that is going to benefit everyone. And a lot of it's going to be shocking. It knocks some people upside the head. The cosmic bitch slap is going to happen, but that's a part of the process. It has to happen. We have to be compassionate to those that are trying. But I got to tell you what, at some point, accountability comes in. And it's like, if you're going to continue to deny that you were wrong and you're going to keep pushing that bullshit, and you're not going to make a realization that you completely fucked up, then go away. There is no time for you any longer.
Amen,
you have to draw lines to those you can save and those who don't want to be saved from their own foolishness. But you still have to be prepared for it, because it's happening now and it's only going to get worse, the shit that's coming out. So, speaking of shit coming out, you can find all my shit that comes out at robertbauer.com. All of my social media links, wherever put stuff is up there. I've got a new series coming out, the Conscious Reality series, which is going to be exploring more of what we've been talking about. And then I have my merch store, Mindwear Apparel, which has all of my stuff that you can wear about your mind. My latest series is called State of Mind. And the first items are Go Fact Yourself, mugs, shirts, and hats. And the second one is Fact Around and Find Out.
Ooh.
And I want people to start thinking about getting these kinds of exploratory concepts into their minds so that they can navigate this new field of information and they can make sense out of it.
Dude, I love that. Fact around and find out, bitches. What? Dude, I'm pissed my camera was messed up. I'm sorry about that, man. To anybody who's watching, Bauer, I'm sorry about the camera situation, man.
You're good.
You know how I get, dude. I lose my mind, and it triggers me when I have technical issues. But it is what it is. The audio came through.
Yeah, all that mattered was mine was good anyway. So,
dude, that is really, truthfully, that's all. Honestly, that matters, man. So, folks, hey, we appreciate you, man. Thank you, Bauer, for being on. It is robertbauer.com is his website, robertbauer.com. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. This is the Rocky Stucci Show, Mondays through Fridays, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Visit the website, stuccimedia.com, stuccimedia.com. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Robert Bauer, I am Rocky Stucci. From our family to yours, much love, much respect. And until tomorrow, don't forget rule number one, don't take shit from nobody. Love you guys.
that's right.